No Monday blues today. It's a fun one at City National Arena ahead of the Golden Knights matchup with Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. And we are live from Studio 31. Ashali Vise here with you, joined by the Sheriff, Shane Hnidy. Shane, Halloween's a week from today. You have a costume picked
I
out
have
yet?
nothing. Nope, I don't have anything right now. It's did some decorations the other day, but I don't know if they're still up after the wind we've had.
Pretty windy out there.
Our neighborhood had a few. I just went around and picked up the various ones on the street. No, I'm just kidding.
What? Did you? Come
No,
on.
but there's a lot blowing around. No, I'm ready for Halloween. But that's I'll have to come up with something. I've got a little trunk of former costumes. Maybe
Would love to go through that. Would love to go through that trunk and see what's in Shane Hnidy's costume arsenal. But you know who isn't going to have to dress up as Iron Man? Phil Kessel. It's Iron Man week, Shane. He plays game 989 tonight, tying Keith Yandel for most consecutive games played. What's your initial reaction when you hear that number?
I think I've used the word staggering. It really is, and I don't think anybody's more excited than Phil to break to tie the record. No, that said, it really is. I don't know how to put it in perspective. Maybe it's easier for me to understand how impressive it is having played the game and never playing that. There's so many factors that would have to come into play for you to play that long. First of all, you have to be an elite player like Phil is. You have to love the game, love the sport. You have to be able to be mentally tough because, not every day you're going to want to play. It is a grinding, grueling season. You have to overcome, if you're not feeling great. Obviously, there's bumps and bruises he would have had to play through. There's coaches that he probably didn't like. Anybody out there, we've had normal jobs. There's bosses, there's some day like, don't tell me there wasn't a day like I don't feel well, I'm not going in. He hasn't done that. And then there's, I think a big part of it is luck. A lot of guys, even talking in the room, I was talking with, Alec Martinez today. He said, I think of some of the things he said just last practice, I took a puck in the back of the head. Things happen to players, but to do it that long and play that many consecutive games it is remarkable and, deserves to be recognized for it.
We love to come to you on perspective about Phil Kessel because you did share a locker room with him for a couple seasons. You talk about what he was like back when he was young. Would you have imagined he would be the one here breaking the streak?
No, never. But and then a lot of things have happened. There's a lot of time that has elapsed since we were teammates. The one thing that hasn't changed is the way Phil Kessel is. He has not changed his personality, his approach to the game. He's learned, obviously, as he's gone along and, got a more veteran perspective. But I think that's the key is, Phil is who he is. He's a unique, I think Aiden Hill, he's a unique animal. And everybody asked, again, we were able to speak to guys this morning. Alec Pietrangelo. One question I said, anybody remember that you can compare him to that you played with, like personality? And no, Alex Pietrangelo, who's been around a long time, said no, definitely unique. Alec Martinez is the same thing. He said, but both of them said they love having him. Martinez called him a huge value add to the room. And Pietrangelo said he's great for this room, just his personality, every day. And I think that's one thing about Phil is he's very quiet. He's mysterious to the media because he doesn't give long answers. But in that room, he's beloved because he's a team guy. He loves being in the room. He loves playing games. Now, if he could take practices off, I'm pretty sure he would take those off, but he doesn't want to take games. If it came between watching a game or play, he's going to play every time. And he's been liked in every room he's been in by his teammates. He's still kind of a mystery to a lot of people on the outside because you're not going to get this big personality through interviews. The guys get that in the room. But you won't get it there.
You talk about players, teammates having a hard time describing him. It's 3 words every time. It's just Phil.
Just Phil.
That's all I can get anyone. Seems to be all I can get anyone to say about it.
What Pietrangelo said today, he said, they asked if you knew him before. He said no, but came as advertised. Because players talk, and he's a difficult person to kind of explain. So coming in as advertised, and just his whole persona, he can have fun about himself, and he had the best quote today. I went up, Phil, I said, "Oh, you're doing?" He said, "What'd you expect?" He says, "Pillar of excellence," and he pointed to himself. It's just he has no trouble giving it out, chirping guys, but he also takes a ton of it, and he can laugh it off. And it's good to have that in the room. I said, when you put together good teams, you can't overlook the chemistry and the unique personalities and characters you need to have in there that can kind of, offset things. Like guys like him are important because he's been in the league so long, and you can get those guys that are so intense. He's the type of personality, type of teammate that can even things out, because you can't carry that intensity throughout a whole season. The roller coaster rides of wins and losses. You've got to try and stay even keel, and guys like him can help others.
Not only do they help others, but that even keel nature, you think that has something to do with his longevity?
Absolutely, I think so. Yeah, you have to love, and this is injuries aside, everything aside, just the fact of the grind. And you'd think at some point you're like, I'm tired. No, and that is, I think, just because he doesn't, the way he approaches the sport, the games, day to day, game to game, is he has fun with it, and I think that certainly speaks to longevity and the ability to do it that long.
It says something, too, when a guy like Alec Martinez calls him a huge value add, because that's coming from someone who's maybe one of the most valuable in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And a guy who's been a captain, won a Stanley Cup, knowing the importance. And so the number is 989, and, for Phil consecutive, I think it's 1,211. I had to look it up. Like, my memory's not good. I think there's another 81 playoff games, and that's so, when you're talking about value add, not only personality, but the experience of so much, a couple of Stanley Cup wins, and just being in situations, understanding what it's like to be a part of a winner and how that, room works, and playing with some of the best in Pittsburgh, like a Crosby and a Malkin and a Letang, and those guys. It's just, it's a big value add to bring not only that experience, but then to bring that type of personality, that type of attitude he brings. It can be refreshing on certain days.
Morning skate wrapped up here at City National Arena just about an hour ago. And just to share kind of what the vibe was like here, we were up in the offices where we were able to see the ice. And at the end of practice, Phil Kessel goes in the middle to lead stretch, and the guys are stick tapping and yelling, and you can just sense how uncomfortable he is. He hates this kind of stuff. But, how ready do you think he is to get this over with? And honestly, imagine if you were still his teammate at this point, how much are they relishing in the opportunity to give him a hard time that all the spotlight is on him?
Yeah, he's going to take a lot of heat. And I think, and maybe, Bruce Cassidy might have put it best. Yeah, Phil wants to get this next 24, 48 hours over with and move on. And, I think he just wants to play the game. He wants to win games. He wants to contribute to this team being successful. I think it's something that he'll be able to look back on and, and then, kind of take it in. At present time, his personality, he's just, let's get this over. Let's get on with the season. But he will look back. And that's when, whether it's a year or two or sooner or 10 years from now, because it's astonishing what he's been able to accomplish, to go down, in the record books and say, hey, I was able to do that. So we'll see how it rolls out. I'm hoping the other thing, and I don't know if he promised it, but I said, I'd like to talk about something else other than the streak, because let's not forget he's sitting on goal 399. So maybe he said he'd like to get a goal. I said, yeah, that'd be great. Let's start talking about number 400.
Yeah, that'd be cool if it happened tonight or tomorrow when he hopefully breaks the Iron Man streak.
Let's talk about it tonight. I want to see him do it tonight.
I think he'd like to see that too. Want to share one last thing on this staggering note that our wonderful PR staff, Nate Ewell and Garrett Calloway, sent us this morning. I'll admit it's a little skewed because of the injury troubles last season, but Phil Kessel will be playing game number 989 tonight consecutively. 989 in a row. The closest Golden Knight in terms of consecutive games played is William Karlsson, 65. That 989 in a row versus 65 in a row. That's jaw-dropping.
And that brings up another point. And I think it was Nick Waugh who brought it up in the room, because everybody's talking about Kessel this morning. So I talked about luck being a factor. So, yes, there's injuries in practice, odd things. I almost lost an eye in a simple drill in practice. Martinez said, he's taking pucks. Mark Stone took stitches last practice from his own shot off the post hitting him. So but let's not forget, we just came through a period in our lives where COVID played a factor, and he did not miss for that.
That's a good call. All the testing every day.
All the testing, he was able to survive that as well. And that good for him. He's just his body's a temple. He's able to fight. It fights off everything.
Need to figure out what vitamins, whatever he's taking, never get sick again, hopefully, or play through it. Of course, COVID, you wouldn't have been able to play through it because of the nature of the beast. The fact that this streak started when he was a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know how you feel about the hockey gods, but doesn't feel like a coincidence that he ties it tonight with the Maple Leafs.
No, I think it's very fitting that he ties it against his former team, and he had some great years there, leading them in points, and a tough market to play in Toronto. It's I think it's great when you can not only tie that record, but it's good because there's some teammates on the other side that are probably cheering for him to hit that record. So it'll be great to share it, whether he admits it or not, or actually does enjoy it. It's good to have more of those former teammates and people that have kind of been part of this career and this run for him.
We talk about what he brings to the locker room. What are you seeing from Phil Kessel on the ice through the first 6 games?
Adjusting. I think that's the biggest thing, and it's going to happen. I think right now it's an adjustment period, and it is for the whole team. So you've got some new players that are trying to settle in, new lines. You've got a new coach, some changes to the system. There's a lot going on, and that's we can all be critical. I can find myself last game, they got to play a 60-minute game, but it's hard. The other team's trying to win too, and we've got to remember they're 4-2. It's 6 games in. It's really early in the season. They've had a really good start. They want to build upon each and every game, and I think for Phil, it's settling in, and he's been receptive to whatever's been asked of him this season. They changed some lines late in that game, and he's fine with it. I think he's willing to do whatever to help the team, and he does put pressure on himself. He wants to be productive. He wants to be a guy that can put up points because he's done it his whole career. Last year in off season with just 8 goals, but he still put up 52 points. So, 44 assists is pretty impressive. And new units on the power play. There's just certain chemistry that's starting to build, and adjustments to be made. And I think he's just acclimating himself here with the team, and it's going to get easier and better each and every game.
It will, but he does have new line mates tonight. Yeah. That's something we will talk about when we come back. But, it's going to be a super important night, and we want to make sure that Golden Knights fans have the opportunity to be at all of these occasions in the future. So, hey, Golden Knights fans, ready to see our team back on the ice, become a full season ticket member for the 22-23 season and never miss a game. A full season ticket member will have perks such as discounts on merchandise, parking, and more. To get more information about full season membership, contact the Vegas Golden Knights sales team at 702-645-4359 or email them at tickets@vegasgoldenknights.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nighttime at Noon. Going to get into some of the news from Vegas Golden Knights morning skate. But first, the Craggy Range is the perfect place to enjoy a pregame or postgame meal. Come watch your Knights on one of the Craggy Range's big screen TVs or the huge outdoor LED screen. Enjoy your favorite craft beer, wine, bourbon, or all kinds of cocktails while you catch the action. You can find a menu for the whole family, plus a full bar with 16 beer taps. Craggy Range Sports Bar and Grill is open daily, no ticket required. So swing by there if you want a nice pregame drink. It is Monday after all. Wouldn't blame them, would you, Shane?
Have you been there?
I have.
I have yet to go. So
You gotta go.
Yeah, I know.
Look how good it looks.
This is not right.
It's delicious.
I will have to head over to Craggy.
It's delicious. Shane won't be able to be there tonight because he will be on the call between the Vegas Golden Knights and Toronto Maple Leafs. 7th game of the season for the Golden Knights. A good start overall. Each loss has come to teams that are certainly expected to be playoff contenders, if not more than that. What have you seen from the Golden Knights so far?
There's been a lot to like in their game. I think there's still indecision on some of the things they've made adjustments to with the new coaching staff. But I think they're getting more comfortable. The penalty kill is one of those areas. There's still, you want everything to be instinctual when you're a player and, to not really have to think about it. But sometimes I think it's a little, I said, that indecision of, okay, we used to do this, we're doing this now, and it's that little hesitation. Penalty kill is a good example. John Stevens was saying that's part of it. Last game against Colorado, just being in the lanes, everything happening that split second quicker. But overall, I think the compete's been there. I think their starts had been good until Colorado. That was certainly the difference in that game. They needed to come out better. It took them a long period. I think they went 15-57, just under 16 minutes without a shot before it turned around in the second period. And then they started getting momentum. And a lot of that is, hearing the coach, I've heard Cassidy talked about it, but you can see it in the game. When they struggle with, the walls, getting pucks out of their end and in the neutral zone, turning it over. They call it managing puck management, whatever you want to term it as. That's when kind of has been the trouble for them when they haven't done that well. I think when they get to their game, that they play with speed. They're putting pucks in deep. They can get in on the attack. They're good on clean on their breakouts. So, when you're 6 games in, you're not seeing, those complete games yet. Every team's still trying to piece it all together. And, but the plan is, as every team would have and tell you, is, okay, get better every game. Take that next step. Learn from the last game, whether it's a win or a loss, and get better. Certainly tonight the message will be against the Toronto team. We've got to start. We've got to come ready at puck drop. You can't wait, especially, they're like Colorado. They've got some dangerous offensive guys. You've got to be ready there, and they've got to be able to work as units of 5 to really defend, slow down those teams that have offensive weapons.
Another strong power play that they're facing
Another
tonight
strong
as well.
Power play. Stay out of the box, number 1. Number 2, penalty kill be better.
You mentioned the penalty kill and what John Stevens said earlier. A comment that he made that stands out that is probably applicable anytime, not just on the PK, but he said there's just habits that are still there, and they're not necessarily good habits or bad habits. They're just habits that you have to change. How long do you feel is a good amount of time when you expect this team to really understand all the systems, whether it's 5-on-5 or special teams?
Coaches probably give you. I always look at that 10-game mark because now you're into the season. Certainly, you want that 10-game mark. You don't want to be 1-9. You want to come out of it. But I think it's hard to replicate. In practice, special teams. It's one of those things I think takes a little bit longer. Learning defense, that happens quicker. The last thing to come usually is special teams. So it's a matter of getting those reps and then being in those game situations where you make the right read, where your read and react is on time. Your instincts become right and they become second nature. Now it's all right. Okay, these penalty killers know, okay, boom, I need to be here. You're reacting the right way without having to think about it too much. So it's a matter of kicking in those new, that mindset, those new habits to a place where they come to you like that, instantaneous, and then it makes it a lot easier. Being in the shot lane, proper stick, when to force, when to not, and then working as a unit. So I think it's coming. It'll get better every game. They'll certainly have addressed it after the last game against Colorado. And as I said, game reps. We'd love not to see too many against Toronto, but it's certainly a good power play where if you're a penalty killer, you're up to the challenge. Okay, let's shut these guys down.
You mentioned adjusting There are new lines today. It's,
Yes.
Bruce Cassidy did some shuffling toward the end of last game. You mentioned how they weren't getting shots.
Yeah.
He's shuffled some things around. So here's what we're looking at tonight. The defensive pairs stay the same, which isn't a surprise. They like how their decor has looked all in all. The fourth line also stays the same, which isn't a surprise. Bruce Cassidy's been vocal about how he feels about them, but want to run through the other changes with you. Jack Eichel will be between Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone tonight. I believe we saw that at the end of
Yes.
last season
I'll touch it.
briefly. The Misfits are back together.
It's a new line.
What do you say?
It's a new line.
The Misfits?
Yeah.
Very new. Yeah, unfamiliar to say the least. And then Brett Howden moves from wing to center, and he will be with Michael Amadio and Phil Kessel. So where do you want to start? Where do you want to start here? Which line?
Well, I think the change started, and I put in a request to our stats guy to figure out exactly the time, but I believe it was, from my poor memory, it was around the 8-minute mark in the third period. Somewhere in there that all of a sudden this Stone, Stevenson, Eichel line went out, and I believe they scored the first shift together. Eichel, Stone to Stevenson to the back of the net. So when you get that type of reaction and result right away, I think it makes sense. Okay, all right, we're going to stay with that. And then, like your favorite pair of shoes, or your favorite, today it's cold in Vegas, your warm blanket you want to pull out, well, you put together the Misfit line, Carlson, Marchessault, Smith, because the chemistry's there. Those guys have played together so many times, so long, and been successful. You go with that line, and then, really the only kind of, and you mentioned, I think we got a brief look at Stevenson, Stone, and Eichel last year. Then you kind of put together that other line with, you move Brett Howden, who's a natural center back there. Amadio could also play center, and then Kessel on that line, and, maybe see what they can do. Maybe they can build some chemistry together. And that's what I love when things aren't working. As a coach, that rather than let your players play through it, you've got to, sometimes you got to shake things up. It sends a message. All right, we need something different here. We need a different look, and it happened pretty quickly. And because of that, sticking with it here to start tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, I'm very excited, enticed to see what Stone, Eichel, and Stevenson can do together as a line for a whole game if it stays that way, because you look at those three and you think of the potential. Eichel and Stevenson, the speed they have. Stone, just his vision, his smarts. There's a lot of potential for them to find some success, and they did it very quickly last game. Now can they carry that through? And of course, I'm always excited to see, how quickly the Misfit line can rekindle their chemistry and make things happen. And, I know Phil Kessel, we touched on in the opening, he's sitting on $3.99. Can maybe Howden and Amadio be the guys to get him going? I think, the one line that really has understood their ask and what their identity is the Carrier-Colasar line, and they're not going to change. And I think the good thing about what I like about that line is they have no problem putting them out, whether it's against the Matthews or Tavares line. They're like, okay, yeah, go ahead. They got total confidence in those guys to play and to defend, because they're a big, heavy line that a lot of times we've seen this year, whether early on against Kopitar, they've forced some of the other teams' top lines to play in their own end, which I think is a huge advantage.
Brett Howden has had a good start to the season. He had a lot of success when he was playing with Mark Stone and Chandler Stevenson. Aside from sliding to center, aside from just that, what changes for him now? How can he continue to stand out in this role?
I think he's got to use his speed. So, in his role now center, there's going to be a little more, he's got to be, a little more awareness in his own end, obviously. But he's played the position, so it's nothing new to him. So a little more defensively minded, and I think it might be easier in effect. It's always easier to go from center to the wing position. The hardest thing about playing the wing is the wall battles, getting pucks out. Hard at times the game's physical, it's fast, guys are on you. So how to win those battles on the wall? It's harder to go if you're a natural winger and then learn to play center. Well, he already knows how to play center, and I think he'll feel more comfortable there in certain areas of the game, maybe in his own end. I think he brings a lot of speed from underneath in the support position. He's a guy that can get up the ice. Amadio and Kessel, Kessel's creative. He's still got the speed and the legs. So I think Brett Howden, he's just looking for a little more confidence. He's had some chances. He's got one goal this year. It came on a tip. But I'd like to see him find a little bit more of that offensive confidence. And maybe being back at his natural position might help.
And something he said to all of us coming into the season was he was willing to accept whatever role he was given. So now it's kind of an opportunity to show how versatile he can be if he can find success in such different scenarios.
And it's important, I think, for a player like him to be able, you want to be as versatile as you can. You want to show your value as much as you can. So I think it's great that he, given that opportunity, he's going to say, I played wing my whole life if he gets a chance to play with Stone and Stevenson. At least I would. Okay. Because I don't think he envisioned himself coming in, where do I fit in this team, that he's going to be on a line with those two. And he may be back there. I think it was good for him to go up there. They know that, hey, that line works. There's something with Howden there. But at the same time, it's now, okay, I'm back to center my natural. I want to prove myself here. So it's about proving his worth. And he's getting the opportunity at the center position here with Amadio and Kessel, and maybe they're the two guys that can propel Phil Kessel forward here.
Speaking of Phil Kessel, we're going to hear from him. We're going to hear from head coach Bruce Cassidy in just a bit when we come back. Of course, we'll also have Shane preview tonight's matchup. Stick with us. Welcome back to Nighttime at Noon. There was a little bit of a preview of what we are going to hear here in a second as Phil Kessel ties the record for most consecutive games played tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's 989. The real fun is tomorrow when he breaks the record. It'll be 990. And we started to get a preview there, so let's just go ahead and hear what Phil had to say this morning.
Yeah, they're obviously they're great guys here. I've had a lot of fun since I got here, and they like to joke around a little bit.
That was Phil Kessel. That's what he had to say after the team was giving him the all the attention at morning skate.
Yeah, it's that's about all you're going to get from him at this point. He's as he said, we said coming into the show, he'll be excited to get through these next 24, 48 hours. And he said tomorrow night, let's get through tonight. Maybe that's the player in me. I don't want to jinx. I don't want to look too far ahead. I want to see him tie the record here tonight, get through this game, see a Golden Knights win, and then you move on from there.
On the stretch, do you want to share with the audience what Bruce Cassidy had to say about him leading the stretch?
Oh, I was surprised he never stretches anyways. Yeah,
exactly.
I think he was surprised. I wrote it down, yeah.
He said he did something along the lines of he doesn't like the attention, but he also doesn't like to stretch.
Yeah,
but
that's right. He said didn't like the attention, says, or to stretch either. That's what he said when in reference to him leading the team stretch after practice.
That's one of the best parts of all of this is all the jokes people make about that side of Phil.
And he loves it.
Games as he has.
And he loves the jokes. Like he can take it. He'll dish it back, but he has no problem taking it.
Let's take a listen to what Bruce Cassidy had to say on Phil Kessel enjoying these next two nights.
I enjoy Phil. We sat and chatted this morning. He's a real hockey guy, but he's also can talk about a lot of different things. I think the guys in the room really enjoy his company, so I would say the same thing. As for coaching him, it's still new, to be honest with you, but he's very interactive. You know, when you talk, it's back and forth. What do you need me to do? Et cetera. And then he's low maintenance when it comes to a lot of the details. He really is. I mean, this is, just tell me what you need and I'll try to give you the best I can. We're not trying to change the way Phil plays, to be honest with you. We're trying to get him to adapt a little bit, how, the things he can do well away from the puck. Like, we're never going to ask Phil to go out there and lead us in hits, but he's back-checked well. We've asked him to return to D-zone. He goes to the right spot and track back. He's broken up some plays, so that's all we can ask. Offensive side of things hasn't happened for his line so far a lot, but I think that'll come eventually. We've moved some people around, but he has no complaints about that either. He understands Mark Stone's a good player, plays right wing, Marchessault, so he just wants to help us win.
How important, Shane, is that whatever you need me to do attitude that Bruce Cassidy referenced?
Yeah, and he said probably the two favorite words any coach could speak, low maintenance. That's what they want from players, and I think it really speaks, as he said, Phil understands, kind of the place on this team. If it's not, there's a lot of good players. And, okay, what do you need me to do? I think that is so important, especially a veteran guy like him who's, been an elite guy on a lot of teams, won 2 Stanley Cups, been big parts of Stanley Cup wins, that, he's at his point, okay, I'll do whatever it takes for this team to win. Where do you need me? You could be upset that, okay, I'm not playing with, Jack Eichel anymore. I'm going to play with Howard in the matter. Sure, that's perfect. That's what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what you want to hear. And that's why you always, we're hearing it now and you hear it from former teams, why guys love Phil Kessel in that room. He is truly a team guy that's a lot of fun and makes you comfortably around. I think that's very important.
When you look at teams that win the Cup, including one that you were a part of, there's always veterans the Cup-winning season that seem to take on roles that you wouldn't expect or that they may not like, but it's that sacrifice that often leads to success.
It is. You need everybody, and I always talk about understanding your role on a team to be successful, and not everybody can play 20 minutes. Not everybody can be shut down defensive player. Not everybody can be the rah guy on the bench or the intense guy on the bench, and whether it's on ice or off ice stuff, everybody has a role to play, and when they do it to their best of ability, it all adds up to the team success. So I think that everybody kind of understands that. You understand it at different points in your career, but they all add up. Everybody kind of doing their part for the better of themselves because it's about the team.
Part of the reason he gets it is because of his experience, and this whole streak started back in 2009 when he was a member of the Maple Leafs, who he is facing again tonight, but he reflected on that connection this morning.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I played there, but, I have great memories there, and, obviously my wife's from there, and, I have a lot of great friends there, and, I enjoyed my time there.
What do you think about that? Do you remember much about teams you played for way a long time ago, or do you think there's more to it than that?
I talk a lot more than Phil, so I probably it would have been a little longer, and I think And he does. Again, this is, you hear him talk. I think it is special. I think there's, he has a connection to Toronto. He always will. And certain guys there, you make lifelong friends on, any team you play on. It may not be everybody from that team, and certainly they've had some changes since he was there, but there's personnel there that are good friends for him that he's probably stayed in touch with over the years, a few of them. And, it's a part of what he's been able to do here, this accomplishment of, reaching 989 straight games, going through those years with the Leafs. And it'll have a special memory, I said. And, going back to what we talked about earlier, right now, all of this isn't that big to him. But when he looks back and then, thinks of the streak that's in the record books, he's going to think about, Toronto started here. And then memories start to come back that way. And I think maybe that's why I remember now. I think back more of it once I was out of the game rather than when you're still in it.
Do you remember any moments back when you were part of the game, whether it was you or one of your teammates hitting major milestones you remember being part of?
Oh, boy. Now you're going to test my poor memory for specific events. I'm trying to think if anybody – we never had anybody do something like this, 989 games. I remember when I was in Ottawa and Saku Koivu of the Canadiens came back from cancer and played his first game. I remember those type of ceremonies that were important. We were fortunate to be there. No, you didn't give me enough time. You just put me on the spot.
I put you on the spot there. I also didn't even look up to see. I didn't look anything else to help you. It just came to me. It just came to me.
No, it's a good question, and now you got me really, really thinking here. And yeah, there's been a few. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be a part. Nothing directly to me, unfortunately, but a lot of players that have done some incredible things in their career.
On the same note as what you just mentioned, something that Bruce Cassidy brought up this morning is that people forget about Phil Kessel's scare with cancer at a young age. Based on what you know about him, how do you feel like that maybe kind of changed his perspective on things and maybe part of his even keel nature?
Yeah, I think it is his even. He kind of it happened. I believe it was the season before I was with Boston. It happened in December of 2006, his first year, 06, 07, I believe. And he kind of he said he got, from what I believe, it was a brief thing. He didn't want it to get out. I believe it got leaked, but he just wanted to keep it private, have what needed to be done, and he was back very quick from it. Certainly, I don't think he's going to open up. It would be scary for anybody to go through something like that. And, fortunately for him, he was able to come out and, no long-lasting effects from it and was able to continue his career and go on to what we're seeing is, people are arguing now, is it a Hall of Fame career? Well, that's for others to decide, but an outstanding long career where he's going to be in the record books. He's got his name on the Stanley Cup a couple of times. So it happening early in his career like that, maybe it did make him just appreciate the situation a little bit more. And maybe that's part of why his personality is just so easygoing. It's
something for us to keep in mind, too, as we talk about the luck involved with setting this kind of streak. He has overcome things. It's not like it's this guy that's had everything's come easy to him or he's had everything handed to him. He's dealt with things as well.
Oh, he certainly has. He had, I believe he had a shoulder injury the first time in playoffs when we were with Boston and playing the Montreal Canadiens. So he's gone through injuries before in his career. It's been a long time since that's happened. And certainly he's had injuries throughout this streak, throughout this run that he's been able to just play through and to be able to minimize whatever that was, whether it's help from training staff, whatever it may be, to play this streak. So, he's just hoping to stay healthy and do his thing. Whatever is working, he doesn't need to change because it's been all good right now.
What's the worst injury you ever played through?
Oh, I've played through broken bones. I broke the one game in Calgary. Might not have been the worst, but I wasn't supposed to finish the game. I broke the tip off my pinky finger. I took my glove off and it was hanging to the side. I went in, got it stitched up and splintered, and I went back out.
It wasn't all the way off. They didn't have to go put it on ice or anything.
It was literally hanging by the skin, and they just kind of flipped it back on. That one, and then afterwards they're like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't have." Not because I could play through it, but it was more the infection. Gloves get a little, anyways. Everybody's played through, anything broken in the foot is usually easy because a skate can act like a cast.
Until you take it off,
until
though,
you
right?
take it off. And then my first year I played a while with a cracked bone. They put it in the ice bucket for a little bit, freeze it up, then put it in the skate and then lace it in. And yeah, the guys do that. That was the mentality we had, or at least, when I played, and guys still have it. We know Alec Martinez has played through broken bones. It's just part of the game.
It's hard to believe that.
Of course, I've injured my eye, too, a couple of times. And the one game I came back and played, I got it stitched up, came right back and played. And then after that, they said, no, the swelling and the danger around the eye injury. So I think I missed a game or two after that.
We could clear it up, though. It's not a glass eye.
We could do a whole hour show if we went through my injuries if you really want.
For those people who are always asking, it's not a glass eye. He's just a warrior.
No, it's just my pupil does not dilate. There, it was damaged. But it's still, I was 20/20 vision until a year ago. Now I've got these readers.
The spectacles.
That's more of an age thing than an injury thing.
Are those for things close, far away? Is this nearsighted or
close.
farsighted?
I can't, see my phone to see my notes. Yeah, that's what these glasses are for.
Fair enough. Want to talk about Toronto and what you see out of them specifically?
Dangerous. Look at what they did last year. I know everybody just looks to their playoff success, but the regular season, they were one of their best seasons. And, they have a guy that just came, second Rocket trophy, and Austin Matthews, who's one of the league's elite, if not elite scorers. Alexander Ovechkin's carried that title for so long, but he's kind of that next guy. 60 goals is just a number you don't hear very much in the NHL. And, I think Steven Stamkos, the last guy to do that. Before that, I think it was Ovechkin in 07, 08, I believe. So it's happened 3 times since then. It doesn't happen a lot. And then, you put the surrounding cast, Mitch Marner and John Tavares and William Nylander, Morgan Riley. This team has a lot of guys up front that can hurt you if you're not playing smart. And I think the Golden Knights, they've got to play a very detailed, smart game here tonight. They can't help. Toronto's going to create enough just with their ability. You don't want to give them any help with mistakes. And all that said, I think that, for Vegas, it's about their start and establishing that home ice identity here at the Fortress, because it's such an advantage if you can have that start and get that crowd and get that energy behind you. I think it's very advantageous.
Sounds like a challenge to the crowd tonight, Shane.
Well, the crowd, they're always ramped up.
They are.
But
they are.
It's a lot easier to keep them going if you can get a goal early.
Yep. Definitely. We'll dive in a little bit more into the matchup when we come back. We'll talk some goaltending, some power play, all the other good stuff before tonight's game. Stick around. Welcome back to Nighttime at Noon from Studio 31 here at City National Arena. The Golden Knights getting set to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. But hey, Golden Knights fans, can't get enough hockey? Come check out the Henderson Silver Knights of the American Hockey League playing at the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson. Single game, group, and mini suite tickets for home games during the 22-23 season are on sale now. Contact the Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team at 702-645-4259 or visit hendersonsilverknights.com to learn more. But of course, we're here to talk about their NHL team, the Vegas Golden Knights, in their matchup tonight. Once again, I'm Ashali Vise with Shane Hnidy. Shane, we've talked about a lot so far. We've talked about the big night for Phil. We've talked about the matchup, but a couple other guys heating up. One in particular last game, Jack Eichel.
Yeah, back-to-back multi-point games for Jack Eichel. He had the pair of goals against Winnipeg, and then picks up a pair of assists in the last game against Colorado. I think it's good for Jack to start, putting up those type of numbers. This is, last year, I know he led them in goals when he returned, but that was a Jack Eichel coming off major surgery, just disc replacement surgery, which is, never been done. Now it's been done a little bit more, Tyler Johnson. So I think for him, it's about confident with his body, and had a full summer to train, and now confident with how taking hits, playing bigger minutes, getting ready to play a full season. So there's a lot of things that go into it for him, and then now it's for him to see results offensively, because this is a guy that is used to putting up numbers, and when they start to happen, I think it really starts to roll. He's had a lot of success against the Toronto Maple Leafs in his career as well, so hopefully that helps. I think he's got 14 goals in 17 games against the Leafs. So hopefully that continues here now, even though he has a different jersey on. But yeah, it's just, and then it's comfortable. Things have been moved around. He's going to have a new line tonight. I think there's a certain part of excitement that comes when you play with new guys. I think it's like, it's not that you wanted, the other guys. It's just, okay, let's see what we can do now. And I think certainly him and Mark Stone, and it's very intriguing when you look at that line and saying, hey, okay, let's see, Stevenson, who has goals in back-to-back games as well, Stevenson and Stone and Eichel, you look at it on paper and you get quite excited about it to see what can happen. And I think Jack certainly maybe has a little, I don't know if there's any more steps he can have in his stride or speed, because he is so fast, but I think there's going to be a level of excitement tonight throughout the group.
You mentioned his success against Toronto. As a player, do you remember, would you recall when you were playing a team, I have success against this team? Is
not personally, but I think, there are guys that do that. I think there's certainly, there's certain players that, it's in the memory, the memory bank that, okay, yeah, I've played this team, I've had success against this guy, and, whether it's that belief factor or just a little extra confidence when you go out in that game, that might play a factor. I wish I could speak to it. But I just can't. I can speak to there's certain teams that you have success in a season that you feel a little more confident going into that game. Maybe their tendencies matched up. You know how to read them a little bit better, the way they play. But from an offensive perspective, that would. I don't know if we have anybody on our staff that we could ask that. I was going to say Derek. No.
Yeah.
Darren Elliott was a goalie, but.
I'm sure goalies remember who they have
goalies,
success against.
What?
Goalies
Goalies
are so
might,
mental.
Goalies might be able to have, this is the team I can shut down. But certainly we're hoping Jack feels that extra confidence against the Leafs.
Speaking of goaltending, what have you seen through these first 6 games?
I've liked it. You can go through those goals against Colorado, the 2 power play goals. That's, too easy of a shot to give up in those situations, and then both of them kind of off the far post one-timers. Not much Logan can do on that, and I think it's about reps for both of them. And we've touched on it, and we've heard Bruce Cassidy talk about it, the internal competition. Every time either it's Hill or Thompson takes the net, you're playing for another opportunity to be in there and to get more games. So I think that's a big motivating factor for their, as a professional athlete and in their position to be the guy and to get as many starts as possible. So you want to leave a lasting impression each and every game. And, Logan, I think they both performed very well this year. They've given the type of goaltending they've expected. I think they've played well in front of them. They had a ton of block shots last game. The Golden Knights did. So I think the system they play allows them to, okay, you've got to make certain saves you need to, and then you're going to have to make one or two that maybe we need you to steal a goal. And that's what goalies want. They want to be in the net. They want to have that chance to prove themselves, and they've both been able to do it so far this season.
Toronto's had pretty good goaltending as well, despite Matt Murray being out.
Yeah, Samsonov is, in which he's changed from Samsonov in Washington back to Samsonov. Ilya Samsonov is getting the opportunity, and I think, this is a guy that is trying to get that number one position, and I think he's playing a lot of reps in a row. So it's kind of maybe the other train of thought where he's like, okay, I got to be the guy now. Matt Murray's hurt, so I'm going to try and grab hold of this chance to prove my worth and be the number one guy. And there's not a lot of push from anywhere else, but we'll see if they can challenge him tonight.
Circling back, I'm backtracking. I'm not always as smooth as Darren Millard going from subject to subject.
Darren's not that smooth, honestly. Why would you say that?
Mark Stone. Darren is like poetic.
Oh, jeez.
If you're listening, Darren, keep it going.
He probably is.
Keep it going.
There's not much else going on.
Mark Stone, the captain, 300th assist for him last game. But it really seems like with every game, he's getting more comfortable. We saw it from the beginning of the season, from the first game, but it seems like it keeps building.
Yeah, I can just echo kind of same thing I was saying about Eichel. For Mark Stone, this is a guy that played with pain last year, and it was a progression right through camp. We heard the coaching staff talk about it. They wanted Mark Stone to get back and feel comfortable. The first step was to play in a preseason game and then see how he felt. Second game was all right. It's getting a few more touches, and then now we're starting to see Mark Stone, the plays he's making, it's hard to explain his game. He's so smart, and he sees things that not a lot of players do, the way he's able to read offense, the way he's able to read defensive situations, stick positioning. We've heard the term used as a ghost from Bruce Cassidy. When he goes in on the forecheck, he can almost bait the defenseman into giving up the puck. He's getting all those things that make him so special back to his game. And I think it's just, for him too, it's playing, knowing that his body's going to feel comfortable going through the physicality of a hockey game, playing the minutes that he's used to, getting back on the penalty kill, something he asked Cassidy. He said, I'm ready. Last year to take away some minutes, he took him off the penalty kill, but he's a very effective penalty killer. He's back there playing power play, playing all those situations that we're used to seeing Mark Stone before he had the injury. So good to see him back healthy and getting to that game and, picking up a pair of assists and one of them 300.
And it's really telling that he is asking for that extra responsibility, asking to be on the PK. But, since we talked about the PK earlier, how big is that for this team once Mark Stone is getting comfortable in that position?
Oh, very big. Him and Chandler Stevenson have been known to be one of the best. You go with Riley Smith and William Karlsson, then you have Stone and Stevenson. I think it's important. You always hear Coach say you like to develop, your kind of bottom six to play there. But if you have guys in your top six that can, why not?
Why not? Exactly. Special teams expected to be a big factor tonight in general.
Well, they're going to need to be against a very good Leafs power play that just it's worked together so long. So, you look for power play units, and John Stevens probably presented it better than I will. He just, he referenced any team that has a successful power play, as the Leafs did last season. It's guys that have played that together a long time. Austin, Tavares, Marner, Riley, they can interchange. They're not a one-dimensional power play or two-dimensional. They have no problem scoring different ways, and that's going to be a big challenge here for the penalty kill of the Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights will look to shut it down tonight when they take on the Toronto Maple Leafs at 7 o'clock. The pregame show starts at 6 o'clock here on Fox Sports Las Vegas, and I'll give Shane and myself a little plug if you choose to tune in to AT&T Sportsnet with that pregame starting at 6:30. Thanks for joining us for Nighttime at Noon.